to another episode here in the Cozy Kitchen. I have really been looking forward to sharing today's recipe with you for some time now. It is one of my favorite dishes all the way back from childhood and still remains to be one of my favorite dishes today. Today we are making Penne Arrabbiata. Arrabbiata literally translates to angry in Italian. And the reason why this sauce has that name is because it refers to the chili flakes that infuse the sauce and make it nice and hot. And if you like a little bit of heat, then I would stick around because today's sauce is off the charts. The arrabbiata that I'm going to be making today is not a traditional arrabbiata. I just want to make that clear right now. I don't want to get bashed, why you're using certain ingredients. One of my favorite ways to eat arrabbiata is actually with a little bit of shrimp. If you are looking to add a little bit of meat or protein, I would suggest maybe adding in some shrimp. It's also really good with lobster if you want to ball out a little bit. Today's recipe is just going to be strictly vegetarian. We're going to be adding in some mushrooms just to give a little bit of meatiness and texture to that sauce. I'm excited to share today's recipe with you. Let's get to it. Let's make some penne arrabbiata. Just to give you an idea of what is going on right now in the Cozy Kitchen, I have two pots going over there. One pot is filled with water. We're going to be cooking that penne in that pot. The other pan that I have over there is a medium saute pan with a little bit of depth to it. I've already covered the bottom with some extra virgin olive oil and added 1/4 teaspoon of crushed red pepper flakes. You want to raise the heat to medium high, and as that oil raises in temperature, we want those crushed red pepper flakes to just infuse the oil before we add in our first ingredients. Once the oil with the crushed red pepper flakes become nice and fragrant, we're going to add in 1 chopped sweet onion. So while the oil in that pan begins to raise in temperature, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about today's arrabbiata and what makes it untraditional. Typically, you'll find in an arrabbiata sauce some crushed tomatoes as the base of that sauce, which are infused with crushed red pepper flakes. For today's arrabbiata, I'm actually going to be using tomato paste. Tomato paste is a great ingredient to always have in your pantry. That's going to be the base of our sauce today. Tomato paste has a very concentrated flavor. It's a bit sweeter, it's a bit richer. We're going to add a little bit of white wine, some garlic, some onion, just to help balance out those more concentrated flavors of the tomato that you'll find in tomato paste. And it's all going to come together from one of my other favorite ingredients, Calabrian chili peppers. Calabrian chili peppers originate from Calabria in Italy, which if you picture Italy, it's like that little boot part at the very bottom. These things pack a lot of heat. The Calabrian chili peppers are going to help to infuse that sauce, bring the heat to this dish, and today's pasta is going to be a good one. That oil that's been warming up over medium-high heat, it is nice and fragrant, which means that it is ready for our chopped sweet onion. We're going to add in our chopped sweet onion and hit it with just a pinch of kosher salt, give it a toss, and let it sit for a few minutes. Once the onions have absorbed about half of the oil that's in that pan and they've started to get nice and soft, we're going to add in 4 garlic cloves, which I have minced here, as well as a 1/2 cup of white wine, and allow those onions to continue to cook in that oil and white wine. My onions and garlic, they've been going in that white wine, that olive oil. My kitchen is starting to smell so good. To that pan, we are about to add 1 cup of sliced cremini mushrooms. I like adding the cremini mushrooms because they're kind of mild in flavor. They're going to add a nice texture and meatiness to today's arrabbiata. If you don't like mushrooms, you can just skip the mushrooms and add all the other ingredients with the exception of these. Once the mushrooms hit that pan with the onions and the garlic, add in a pinch of kosher salt, as well as 1/4 teaspoon of fennel seeds and 1/2 teaspoon of dried oregano. I like adding oregano for the earthy flavors that help to complement the mushrooms. And although we're just adding a little bit of fennel seed, it's going to add a nice sweetness to the sauce to help balance out all of the heat that we're going to be adding in later. Once we mix in the fennel, the oregano, the mushrooms, all of that, we're going to add in another 1/2 cup of white wine, give that a toss, and allow the vegetables to continue to cook over that medium-high heat. That pot that we filled with water, we can turn that heat to high. We want to bring that water to a boil. Remember, right before it comes to a boil, we want to add a generous amount of kosher salt just to help flavor the pasta before we add that pasta in and finish it off in our sauce. My mushrooms have been going in that pan for about 10 minutes now with those onions, the garlic, the white wine, the olive oil. To that same pan, we are about to add in 1 tablespoon of Calabrian chili peppers, 2.5 tablespoons of tomato paste, a pinch of kosher salt, and 1/4 cup of chopped parsley. We're going to give that all a toss in the pan, bring that to a bubble, and then allow that sauce to just simmer in the pan. My salted pasta water is boiling, which means that it is ready for our pasta to be thrown in there. We want to cook the pasta about 2 minutes less than whatever the cooking instructions are for the pasta. We're going to take that pasta out and finish cooking it in the sauce. We can add in about a half a cup of that salted pasta water just to help loosen up that sauce and bring down the concentrated flavor from that tomato paste. After you've added in that pasta water and given that sauce a stir, you want that sauce to just simmer on that stove until our pasta is ready to be added in. While that pasta continues cooking, we can get our final ingredients ready. I like adding a little bit of lemon to this dish at the very end just to help brighten everything up. So I have half of a lemon here. I'm also going to hit that pasta with some grated Pecorino Romano cheese. Pecorino Romano is a little bit saltier than Parmesan. It's going to complete this pasta and make for the perfect bite. I'm getting excited. It's smelling really good in here. It's almost time to eat. Stay with me. It is time to add that penne pasta into that pan with that sauce. Add in the juice of half of a lemon, as well as about a half a cup of grated Pecorino Romano cheese. We're going to toss all of those ingredients together over that medium heat. And then once everything is tossed nice and evenly, we're going to turn the heat off and allow the pasta to just sit in that pan and allow all those delicious spicy flavors to absorb into that pasta. We're going to finally sprinkle another quarter of a cup of chopped parsley right on top of that pasta. Give it one final toss and then you can serve. After you've added in that final quarter cup of that parsley, there's nothing else to do but eat. I love me some spice, and this arrabbiata definitely hits on the heat note. If you like spice, then arrabbiata is definitely a fun way to switch up your traditional pasta weeknight recipe. It comes together relatively quickly. I can't wait any longer. I gotta dive in. I've been looking forward to this moment all day. Got the pasta here. This pasta comes together so quickly, but this sauce tastes like something that's been sitting on the stove and simmering all day long. I would suggest going to try this arrabbiata recipe out for yourself. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you like this video, please give it a like. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. Go make my favorite childhood dish. You're not going to regret it. Penne Arrabbiata. That's how it's done. Thank you guys. I will see you soon.